let's just go ahead and go to our next story here, and that is the fact that Country Bear Jamboree is finally, it hasn't quite opened yet. It doesn't open for a few days, but they have done media previews here.
Yes.
Here's a quick look at the outside. Looks very similar to how the outside used to look. I'm sure as soon as I say that, someone will say, no, let me tell you why the new exterior is actually worse, which is the trend at Disney these days. If you look at those fellows right there, they do appear to still be wood carving. So there's at least that. Detailed look at Grizzly Hall.
Are you sure they're not 3D resin prints from a scan?
I am not sure about that.
Could be. They're far enough away where people
will I think we'll notice fast, because that's going to be at Disney World. That's going to be ugly quickly.
Yeah, it's a fair point. It's a fair point. Yeah, I don't know. They kind of look like they could be.
Well, they could be repaints of the old one too, because basically all the colors in all of the scenes for the characters and their clothing have been brightened considerably from the old one, to my eye.
They have a close-up shot later on in this article and get really close on those.
All right.
It looks good. It seems to be the same sign, just with a obviously different print on it to reflect the new name, which Musical Jamboree. I think you only need one of those. Let's say Levy. I do like the old style a little bit more than the new style, but I think it's serviceable, and they kept the best aspects, which was the sign itself.
What are you trying to say, Vash? Are you trying to say they let go of all the other things in this this wonderful attraction?
Well, I've definitely got some opinions on this one, because it's there are things that I like and things that I don't like.
Me too.
And that actually happens really quickly in the queue beyond just the sign.
Well, do we want to talk about the attraction, or do we want to talk about the queue first here?
We'll talk about. We'll do
I think they're
Disney
both
attraction.
part of the same thing, and I'm sure Vash is thinking what I'm thinking, because are you thinking what I'm thinking, Vashi?
I
think so, Brain. But I guess it's the fact that they made the whole thing shorter.
Yeah, that's
the biggest thing to me. Anyway, go on.
Let's go over here to this this rumor and speculation piece that turns out to be a little bit more than rumor and speculation. This is from a few days before we saw the final set list. Official Disney song list for Country Bear Musical Jamboree. Look at all those colorful bears in the concept art. I'm not sure that they quite came out as energetic as all that. Let's see. We got the Country Bear Musical Jamboree, which is a new original song. Anybody have any thoughts on that one?
Well, it's either new or original, but if it's both, that's overkill as usual.
I think it was actually performed fairly well. I saw no problem with it. It's the other songs that people have issues with.
You know what, Vash? I mean, yes, the performance was fine.
Musically, all of this shows that they got some good players out of Nashville to do this stuff, and it's
fair point.
You can't fault the fretwork, so to speak. It's all really nice. It's how they chose what pieces of these songs they were going to do that drove me nuts.
Well, it's very obvious that they took. We have some additional. What's the best way to put this? We have some additional information that's kind of borderline on whether or not we can release it. We know some of the motivations for changing this, which is along the lines of what people were already suspecting. We also know whether or not a certain Zippy song was actually supposed to be included in this. So we've got some things that we have to talk about here, but let's go through the show itself. Obviously, Vash, I think you had it there for a moment. Henry's new costume.
Yes. So if we look at Blog Mickey, which actually has before and after shots of all of the bears conveniently laid out for us, you can kind of see the direction that they've gone. I was unaware that they had darker color curtains in the backdrop there. I always thought they were red in my mind. I'm not sure why, but they actually have refreshed those, which is very, very nice. And you can see Henry's costume right there. Originally in the concept artwork, that was blue, and they actually changed it to white in order for the contrast to really pop off of those dark blue curtains in the backdrop. That right there, those kind of attention to detail things I thought were nice, but Culture, maybe you have a different opinion on this.
I do. This is all done because of materials cost savings. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know Texas is sort of the South, But I don't think of Texas with country music the same way I do, for example, Tennessee. And damn, he looks like a cartoon Texas Ranger in that outfit, doesn't he? There used to be a cartoon show host in L.A. named Sheriff John. That's what this outfit looks like if you go look up Sheriff John. Anyway,
maybe I should have gone with the Roy Orbison look or something.
Yeah, well, yeah, we talked about that.
He does look. I mean, he does kind of strike me as a Tennessee colonel, maybe a Memphis colonel. Here, there's a lot of that gets mixed together in.
No. In Tennessee, we have squires, and I happen to be one, but that's about Jack Daniels, so it's not about Parks.
I was with you on this, by the way, Vash. I thought that it was originally red. I was mixing up the front curtain with the back curtain here, and we had this discussion about that bright blue. Obviously, that bright blue there is there to make the bears pop.
Well, for all we know, that pale blue could have been bright blue 35 years ago when they started, and they've just let it be there and fade all these years. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I still want to know why, with all of this, they still don't wear pants.
well, some bears wear skirts. It's a little inconsistent on that. It's kind of like Chewbacca, right? Some bears can get away with wearing little. Some bears get away with wearing a lot. I'm not sure quite how that works. But all the bears got a refresh in terms of their fur and so forth. And the audio animatronics are the smoothest that I've ever seen them. I mean, they really are very, very nice and capable. You'll note that the Imagineers actually utilized the audio animatronics from Splash Mountain right next door to this attraction and infused their parts into the bears that you see on screen today. And so they're the smoothest they've ever been, but at what cost? It is tragic. The sunbonnets, I think, are the ones that I think are the most egregious in that, well, they're called the sunbonnets. Why don't they have bonnets when performing?
Everything's better with sunbonnet on it. Is that what you're trying to tell us?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's weird because that's who they are. They don't actually refer to them as the sunbonnets anymore. I think it's to reflect that their costume changed, but that's kind of what they were known for. So why not, keep that? I'm not quite sure why they went in a different direction there. The one that I like, I think the most though, is Ernest actually, because they dressed him up in kind of some Mary Poppins flair, which coincides with the song choice. This Ernest performs Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and there's this kind of a smoke effect that's added to his fiddle when he's playing because he plays it very fast, which is actually consistent with the cue. So the cue features a fiddle with kind of a smoke effect on there as well, like he kind of like burned through it. I thought that was nice consistency, nice detail right there. Also, too, when they introduce Ernest, they actually introduce him as coming from the Mineral King. I think Henry says that, from the Mineral Kings. The Mineral Kings is Disney's, project that never was, unfortunately, in which they were going to set up a ski resort in Mineral King, California. And it never went through because, unfortunately, the environmentalist movement at the time was just getting started. And it was like, ooh, you want to do a monorail to it or a train? That's not going to work. We don't want you to deforest that much. So, unfortunately, that idea went the way of the dodo. But the Country Bear Jamboree was originally designed and built and developed for the Mineral King's ski resort. And then that idea was folded into the development for Walt Disney World, or Project X at the time, and that became an opening day attraction. So that
was literally a project that Walt worked on himself, right?
Yes. Yep. Very excited about it. Unfortunately, when Walt passed, you didn't have the Uncle Walt figure that could have necessarily navigated those waters successfully. So unfortunately, that idea passed away with him when he did. But good. I would say a pretty good in-joke right there. Pretty good reference to the historical legacy of the Country Bear Jamboree by including that line. But Culture, you might have some differing opinions than me. Let's go ahead and hear.
Well, like I was saying, materials cost is what drove everything else. That's what Disney is focused on right now across the board, which is why they're dumbing down the quality of their resort offerings, from their room interiors to designs to things like that. These curtains are available throughout the property rather easily, and having custom curtains for this location, they just wanted to save. It comes down to money, folks, and it's easy to replace a blue curtain when you have more yards of that than almost anything else because of, again, multiple attractions using the same blue curtains. Same thing with the red, same thing around the way. And, I'm going to have to go through some old photos to see what the original color of the blue was, but from my memory, that is consistent color that's been there since the dawn of time.
Yep.
So, and again, I have some different opinions on the animatronics as well, but that's normal because I see stuff that other people don't see. They didn't add any functionality to these animatronics.
None whatsoever. None whatsoever.
They may have upgraded, the elements of them, their operation, et cetera, and maybe that was a good thing. I'd be hard pressed to say so. They did brighten every single color on these animals, which again, it's a little tough to take for somebody who's seen this before. They went out of their way to make sure that none of this looked lived in. That was one of the things that this attraction was famous for. It's like you're going into a dusty little cabin, show house, playhouse, right? You're in there on purpose. This is a lived in environment. This is polar opposite of that. And they eliminated some set elements and some other things. And I can go on and on. But the addition of adding lip wire and other things could have been done to make it look like they were actually mouthing the words properly. There were upgrades that could have been done. The Elvis character was one of the best, things that I saw. The problem is that Liver Lips did not get an upgrade. I mean, this is one character you could have done some fun things with the mouth wire, and these are just small things. Not tedious upgrades or anything else. And since you probably had to put new systems in place for the new elements in these animatronics in these because these are individual feature pieces, most people don't realize that. They really wouldn't have been all that much work. It's very disappointing. I can't imagine what they did with the show system, but ever since they did the change from the first show to the summertime show to this, depending upon what park you're at, right. I'm a little bit less thrilled than many other people are. But again, that's just my opinion. I mean, if you're going to upgrade. And that's why, Splash Mountain to Tiana was a necessary downgrade. Well, in a lot of ways, this is a downgrade. Most people just don't recognize it.
Well, I'm of two minds about that. Lou, go ahead, and then I'll go after you.
Well, first of all, I gave you a couple of links. If you go back to the group shot of the whole band, they've changed this microphone stand to look like the famous ones at the Opry, which is kind of a nice tip of the hat. You see this thing here with the box on the stand and then the microphone? Well, take a look at the two links I just gave you, and you'll see something very similar. See? That is famous as the Ryman and the Opry deal with the box on top of the... See?
That is
anyway,
a cool detail.
So that was a nice little touch of the hat. My huge objection to this, aside from the fact that the script that is it Henry, the narrator one, basically has is so dull, and the mediocre puns are so on the nose and not clever that it's literally and now here's a song called so and so, or now here's the next guy.
Right.
Secondly, the various little turntable stages, the four of them. The ones on the left are used little or never to show something different a second time. I don't think countrifying the Disney songs is such a terrible idea. What I hate, and I think I've found the reason for, is this, and now they're going to sing whatever it is, and it's one verse and done on every single one.
Right.
It's literally let me play you the first 6 notes of this famous song, and just when you start to hum along, that's over. Next thing. Right.
Well, and this is essentially an 11-minute show now, if not shorter than that.
That was my point. I went and looked at side by side the videos that are out there of the original show and this show. And if you cut off the part of the pre-show and walking in and sitting down and start with the guys on the wall talking in each case, there is a good 4, 5, 6 minute difference to the short, which means that the whole thing, to my mind, is largely about throughput and increasing the number of potential shows.
That's it. That's what it said the first time.
that's no excuse, period, as far as I'm concerned. And what it eliminates from the show, because of that, those interstitial conversations are shorter and dumber, is any attempt at storytelling of the show, as opposed to here's a song about.
It's just another thing after another thing after another thing.
It's Disney's greatest hits in 11, 12 minutes, as opposed to
somebody described it as the Country Bear Jamboree PhilharMagic edition. Like we had the Vacation Hoedown and the Christmas edition.
But
there is what it feels like.
But PhilharMagic has a storyline throughout the whole thing. It actually, despite the fact that it is a musical journey through all these different shows, it has conflict.
Yes, it has.
Why do you want conflict in every ride? You don't have.
And I cannot
overstated conflict, but at least the hijinks of Donald Duck going throughout PhilharMagic is a fun story. So his little wink there at Ariel is.
Can anybody imagine this show in its current configuration having a Vacation Hoedown or holiday version like the original did?
Not on the scale of the original, but
not even anything other than throw some tinsel up for Christmas.
Now here's the.
It's not an overlay; it's an overwink.
So
am
I overstating this if I say that all of us are thinking that this isn't bad, but it also is not at the quality level that it needs to be?
I think that's a fair point. I mean, look, you talk about conflict. I mean, the previous show was really fun because Henry was kind of like keeping it together kind of thing, and everybody went off script, and everybody had a fun time
until everything went
let's
wrong,
say, right?
Quote unquote. But it never even has a chance to go wrong here because it never gets started at any given moment.
Well,
right.
and that's how these attractions work, though. And you're right, both you and Vash, Lou. But something goes terribly wrong is at the premise of almost every single attraction you've ever been on.
Right.
So,
right.
And when it comes to these shows, they have to be thoroughly engaging. You have to ask your question, is somebody going to go back and see this show 20 times?
I'm can't imagine twice.
Here's the only
twice
thing
would only be to say, was it as bad as I thought it was the first time? I'll give it some time and go back out of curiosity.
That was a highlight from our live stream on That Park Place, where the full stream can be accessed by members to the That Park Place YouTube channel. But what about you? What were your thoughts on this particular story? Please let us know in the comments below. Like this video if you did like this video. Share us out as it helps us out tremendously against the YouTube algorithm. And thank you so much for watching. T3BO. Please comment, like, and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe to That Park Place Podcasts Online, your source for exclusive content and highlights from WDW Pro, The Pro Show, and That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.